fronting everybody, man, and shoot, man, I'm on the way to the house, and long story short, I was thinking about a time when one of my buddies had his own used car lot. He had a shop with a lift in it, and he had went and picked up an Audi A4. And every time, you get a used car, there's always something wrong with it, man. We fixed BMWs that had cooling issues, and Jeep Wranglers and need tops redone or whatever. But this Audi A4 actually had the transmission was slipping. So he brought it in. I put it on the lift, and Audi A4 is basically it's a four-wheel drive sport vehicle. Okay, and I think it's got a turbo in it. I'm pretty sure it does. It's kind of like a Volkswagen Passat, but it's maybe more luxury or whatever like that. And so I put it up and found out that it was actually had a leak from the rear differential, and then basically it has a transaxle, like CV axles in the front too. So the rear of the transmission had a leak, and the front driver's side had a leak. So I told myself, okay, well, I looked it up on the schematics with Audi, and looked at the parts like a few dollars. So I was like, I'll order the seals, and I'll get the transmission oil or fluid or whatever you want to call it, and I'll go ahead and I'll fix it. So I was able to get the rear transmission seal, I think locally, like the next day or something like that. So I got that, and I got the actual transmission oil, and basically took the differential, what do you call it, the actual the drive shaft. I took it out, the transmission, unbolted it from the rear end, took it out, slid it out, some transmission fluid came out and whatnot. And then basically, I think I was able to take that seal out. I think it was just maybe like a rubber seal or something like that. It might have been maybe a metal, but took that seal out, replaced it, slid the drive shaft back in, filled it back up, because basically it's two transmissions in one. Because it was funny, like when we started calling around in Tallahassee before I started doing all this work, I was like just calling transmission shops to find out if anybody could do it, you know what I mean? They're like, do not bring that car to us, man. We don't want to work on it. So I was like, okay. So I was like, it was worth a shot to change out the seal. So I changed out that one, drove it. It kind of drove a little better, but still was slipping a little bit. So I was like, okay. And put it back on the lift and ordered the other seal, right? The one that's on the front driver's side where the CV axle goes in. So lo and behold, the only way to get to that seal was to remove the engine and transmission. I'm like, dude, I'm not removing this engine transmission. I'm not doing it, bro. Like, who the heck's gonna do that, right? Like, it's like hours and hours worth of work just for like a $10 seal and a little bit of transmission fluid. So what I ended up doing was I put the whole car, I put jack stands underneath it, right? I put jack stands, like 4 jack stands, and I still had it on a lift. And what I found out was that I removed the wheel, removed the CV axle, and when I was trying to remove, it was like a part of the transmission to slide the axle out so I could get to the seal. I couldn't get it because it kept hitting the body of the vehicle, like the chassis, right? So what I did was I sat the car down on 4 jack stands, and then I had the car on the lift. And what I did, I separated the actual chassis, like the chassis that has like the suspension and the wheels on it, from the body, because once I was able to do it, it only needed like an inch and a half, and I separated it from the front side, the actual suspension with the wheels on it. So the wheels are sitting on the ground, and I lifted the body up, and just every so gently, like just because you got wire harnesses and whatnot. And then eventually I was able to get that axle out, man. Got the axle out. I think I had to beat the body a little bit in to get it out, changed out the seal, and then basically put more transmission fluid back in it, put everything back together, bolted the suspension back up, and drove it, man. Test drove it, drove like a dream, bro. Worked perfectly. So saved myself probably hours and hours of removing the engine and transmission, and gotten the car back running. And you gotta be very, very careful. You know what I mean? Like, without removing the wire harness and stuff like that, I probably, if I had to get like 3 or 4 inches out of it, I would have had to remove more stuff. But only needed like 1.5 inches, maybe 1 inch of that. It was just barely hitting the body. I couldn't get an axle out. So it's a little trick for y'all. If you ever have to change out the seals, like, the first thing to do is, if you got a transmission that's slipping, see if you got low fluid. Now I had low fluid, right? So then I looked for the leaks, and I had leak on the rear and the driver's front. Probably should have done the passenger front too, but hey, it's a car, man. Used car lot, man. You get it going, right? And we were able to fix it, man, and it worked. Got somebody a good vehicle, man, new seals, new transmission fluid, and it was good to go, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of the stories, man, of how we did not have to remove an engine transmission from an Audi A4 back in the day. I'll see y'all next one. I'm going to keep these stories coming, man, because I got plenty of stories. I got one where we did an ECU swap out on there's a Lexus LS400, so that'll be coming up soon, man. I'll see y'all next one. How do you stop this thing? I gotta figure that out, right?